Eisenfaust an Lanzenschaft, die Zügel in der Linken. So springt des Reiches Ritterschaft und ihre Schwerter blinken. Heer, 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 und ihre Schwerter blinken. Heer, 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 und ihre Schwerter blinken.
Hello and welcome to Lex Orandi, Lex Credendi. I am Kenny and this is my very first video. I chose the name Lex Orandi, Lex Credendi, meaning the law of prayer is the law of belief, because I firmly believe that the way you pray directly impacts what you believe theologically. And of course, that means what you believe in about God. This is, of course, both from my experience and other people that I've talked to have had, of course, the same experience. More traditional prayers seem to me to invoke a more Catholic response, whereas a more modern, aka Novus Ordo prayer setting seems for the most part to invoke a lukewarm charismatic response. And what I mean by a lukewarm charismatic response is a very Protestant way of thinking about your Catholic faith. This has been my experience, and again, others that I've talked to, and then even some that I've listened to on other videos. So the sacred tradition is very important. It is the foundation of our faith left to us by Jesus Christ through the apostles. Although the tradition has, of course, developed over time naturally, we seem to have come to a point after Vatican II. I don't know exactly where this would have started. Some people say it's 100 years before this is where it started. Some people say it's Vatican II. Some people say it started with the Novus Ordo Mass. But we seem to have, scrapped tradition in favor of a quasi-Catholic tradition, again, aka the Novus Ordo. Some traditions were left, however, not untouched. The sacrifice of the Mass, of course, is the biggest one. That was just totally gutted. The Novus Ordo Mass does not resemble the traditional Mass given to us by Peter through the ages to our current day. The traditional Latin Mass, of course, is the same Mass that was said by Peter in Rome, although not identical, because, again, there have been some developments over time, but it is the same exact Mass, whereas the Novus Ordo is a completely different Mass. The other sacraments, like, for example, like confession, has been watered down to basically a therapy session. Then baptism used to have a couple of exorcisms in there. As far as I know, there ain't no exorcisms in the current form of the rite of baptism. And, so on and so on. What I find most disturbing about a lot of the changes in the Novus Ordo, or the modern church, for those of you that don't like me calling it the Novus Ordo, the doctrine of extra ecclesiam nullis salus seems to have been completely watered down. Extra ecclesiam nullis salus, meaning there is no salvation outside of the church, or since we have multiple Protestant churches trying to claim to be the church, There is no salvation outside of the Catholic Church. We do need to return as laymen to the traditions which were handed down to us by the apostles up to our current day in its unaltered form. Again, developments, fine. But we need to go back to what it was originally intended to be. So what are we supposed to do as laymen to make this happen? We as laymen, the only thing that we can do on an individual level, now eventually it will lead to a group effort, which we definitely need. But the first thing you got to do, one, work on yourself. If you're married, like I am, work on yourself, work on your family. Get your wife involved in it, get your kids involved in it. If you got kids, if you don't have kids, then just be ready to get your kids involved. After that, then it's, influence your circle of friends. If you have any at Mass, talk to them about it. Get them interested. If you have a priest that's interested, start, poking around at that. Get him more interested. Get him, get him in the game. Because a lot of priests ended up going traditional Latin Mass simply because they had parishioners who were encouraging him to do so, who were talking to him about it, who were giving him resources. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. You got to talk to your priests. Now, ultimately, the idea is to get enough people that are interested in this thing, show the bishop that there's a need for it, and then you can get a Latin Mass. Obviously not at a diocese right now, but a small chapel, a private chapel, owned by the lay people. Just tell them, hey, we've already got a space. We've got a financial system set up for it. All we need is your permission. And then just, slip the bishop some money once a month. And just make sure it's a good chunk. We need some generosity. We need some people who are willing to go all in for this thing. Because tradition is the future of the Catholic Church. The gates of hell will not prevail against this thing. So if you in your area or in my area, if I, for whatever reason, fail to get the Latin Mass here, somebody else somewhere is going to get it going. And no matter what, this will not ultimately fail. We need to stand firmly in tradition, in the service of Christ our King. Now, I do understand, because I'm one of them, but I do understand there are Catholics who are trying to be as traditional as possible, but you are, again, like me, trapped in the Novus Ordo. I have to drive 2 hours just to get to my nearest Latin Mass. Can't do that very often. So I understand that if you are stuck in a Novus Ordo situation and you cannot get to a Latin Mass, then just do the best you can. If you feel that the Novus Ordo that is in your area, or you're just to that point where you're just like, you cannot go to the Novus Ordo anymore, then that's a decision you're just going to have to make. But you're going to have to get a missal, and you're going to have to follow the liturgical year, because if you just straight up stop going to Mass and just pray your rosary every day, although you should pray your rosary every day, but you need to do something in order to keep your spiritual life up and running. Because otherwise, when the time comes and a Latin Mass is available, it's not likely that you're going to be practicing the faith by the time it gets here. This is why you should still go to the Novus Ordo. It is valid. I know that not everybody's going to agree with me on that, but it is valid. So, this channel will be, for the most part, I'm planning to read from my Father Lassant's Missal. I'm going to try to do it every day, no promises. I'll try to get, at minimum, I'm going to get the major feast days and Sundays. But I will try to do my best to get every day the readings from the Missal. So if I, come up a couple of days or a couple of weeks where I'm not getting it for the most part, and I'm only getting like major feast days or whatever, or I'm only getting on once in a while, it's just because I'm busy. So I will do my level best to get some stuff out here. Other than that, just pray your rosary every day. Don't ever forget your rosary. I know it will occasionally happen, but do your best not to. Pray for our Holy Father for his conversion, for him to lighten up on the Latin Mass. Just give us the ability to go to the Latin Mass. Y'all can have your Novus Ordo. Just let us have our Latin Mass. Yeah, because this Pope of Mercy is not very merciful on traditionalists. Make sure that you like and subscribe to this video. I am trying to get a fairly good listener base, so that hopefully we can build a community here where I live. And for those of you who are trying to get a Latin Mass in your areas, maybe this will inspire you to get a community going in your area. We can only do this if we just pick ourselves up, start doing it, talk to people, grow the interest, and just do it. And don't worry about, I understand that sometimes you have to do this stuff below the radar, at least until you get the numbers. But just get her done. Standing around talking about how you wish you had a Latin Mass is not going to get you a Latin Mass. Talking about how, your priests are lukewarm, watered down Protestant, griping about that is not going to fix the problem. Talk to your priest. Introduce him to tradition. And watch things slowly start to change. Do not expect this to happen overnight. This is going to be a several year process. But if you are committed to our Lord, you are committed to Christ our King, then you will do this. You will talk to your priest. You will do what you need to do to make this happen. Above all, pray about it. Ask God for help. Lord, if it is your will, help us to find some way to restore the tradition of your church in our area. The only thing we can do is fix ourselves and influence others. So start doing it. All right, I think I have rambled on long enough. So again, like, subscribe. Trying to build community here, so just do it. Share it. Facebook, any other social media platforms y'all may be using. I'm not on very many, so I don't know what all you can share this on. I think you can share it on Twitter, not positive. One more thing. If you want to get a hold of me for any reason, I probably won't get to you immediately, but I will get to you. And just if you try to message me saying that I'm messaging you from Lex Orandi, Lex Credendi, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. But I am on both Twitter and Facebook under the same name, the Knights Templar, and well, it's just Knights Templar, not the Knights Templar. So take off the, but Knights Templar on Facebook. It has a Templar Knight as the profile picture, and the Templar Knight is holding a green lightsaber. Trust me, you can't miss it. And it's the same thing on Twitter. For now, I will try to get on here as regularly as possible, and anybody who may be listening, I will catch you next time. Deus Vult.